Good evening.
Good evening.
Rabbi Dr. Shmuel Riccardo Di Segni, Chief Rabbi of Rome since 2001. Thank you for being with us here in Munich with the Standing Committee. We just celebrated a few days ago your 75th birthday. So first of all, our congratulations, Mazal Tov, and Ad 120 till 120. You have been Chief Rabbi of Rome for the last quarter of a century. Rome, but doctor, you are actually continuing in the tradition and the legacy of many rabbis from Italy and from Spain. Just to mention Maimonides, Nachmanides, the Ramban and the Rambam, who were and rabbis and doctors. You feel that you're following their footsteps?
Well, you are quoting very great examples, just a number man who is following their instruction. So they managed to mix together a work in the life and a spiritual work, which is the mission of the rabbi. And in the past centuries, it was almost the rule in some places. There are very long lists up now, but I can say that in the last 2 centuries, the number of these combinations narrowed because there was a conflict between the science, the universities, and the rabbinical studies. But we have to manage this conflict to overcome it.
Yeah, interesting you mentioned that. You know that I've been living the last 2 years in Jerusalem, in Israel, and I needed to go to doctors from time to time. And when you go to a pharmacy or you go to a doctor, 75% of the medical staff is not Jewish, is Arab. And I say it's just the opposite of what Jewish history was like, that the non-Jews came to Jewish doctors. So things, as you say, today we have new challenges between science and religion, and but you are the one who shows the way and gives the example that you can build a synthesis of both science and Torah. So you are the rabbi of Rome, most probably the oldest Jewish community in Europe, or one of the oldest Jewish communities in Europe.
With the uninterrupted continuities since the times of the Maccabees. So Jews are in Rome since 22 centuries.
We have very few buildings left today which are thousands of years old. We have the Kotel HaMaravi, the Western Wall in Jerusalem. In Rome, we have the Colosseum, which was built by...
The money of the treasure of the temple.
But the treasure of the temple, which was destroyed by the Romans. And we have the Ark of Titus, which has engraved in it the Judean soldiers in captivity taking with them the menorah from the temple in Jerusalem. So what makes today Roman Jews different than Jews from any other place?
Well, first of all, they are Jews. So being Jews, they are the complexity of being Jews in good and some defects. They feel themselves very rooted in the city because a community that never disappears for such a long time gives some sights. One of them thinks that they are a special Jew. I don't think that everybody is a special Jew. We keep our custom. We have a special minhag with our melodies, with our tradition. So we are very fond of our specific tradition.
Very proud.
Yeah, very proud, yes. So we are synagogue according to our right. People coming from outside are asking, where does this come from? So we say it is here, it's original. And I can say that from the older time we have also an ancient synagogue in Austria. We have also catacombs with the painting of the menorah on the walls. And there will be a good surprise, very exceptional surprise in a few times.
Good. waiting to see what it is. As Chief Rabbi of Rome, you have a very unique position because you are parallel to the Bishop of Rome, who happens to be the head of the Western Christian Church, the Catholic Church, the Pope. And the Synagogue of Rome, which you preside over, played during the last dozens of years a very special place during the rapprochement between the Vatican and the Jewish people after Nostra Aetate, after Vatican II. And what do you see today, what do you feel today in terms of future relations with the Vatican?
The relation with the Vatican were always complicated. It's not a simple way to work. There have been in the last decades some revolutionary steps taken by the Catholic Church. You quoted Nostra Aetate. There were 3 visits of the Pope to the main synagogue of Rome. It means that they feel that there should be a special relationship with the Jew. But the everyday story is going to be complicated because every day we have some problem. Just today we had some problem. So we must consider this problem with the spirit of friendship and collaboration, but never withdraw from our principles.
Since the 7th of October, Simchat Torah last year, the world has changed. I think also, if you're asking me, I think the fact that Trump was re-elected as the 47th president of the United States is also a direct or indirect effect of what happened on 7th of October. Since the 7th of October, there's a whole new wave of anti-Semitism in Europe. How has this affected Italian Jewry, Roman Jewry?
Well, we feel a wave of anti-Semitism in Italy, not danger in the street, but a continuous and growing atmosphere of intolerance and hatred against the Jews as partners of the Israelis without distinction. So the situation is going to be complicated. The government protects all our institutions very strongly. But the feeling of the Jews, it happened something very different. What happened, I remember in 1982, when there was the war in Lebanon, the Jewish community was split in 2 parts. And even before the 7th of October, the Jewish community over the world, also in Italy, was split in 2 parts from pro and against the government. But the strange thing that happened after the 7th of October, the majority of the community felt the danger and is searching for unity.
So, did you have people who never showed up in the synagogue beforehand, who after Simchat Torah, the 7th of October, they just showed up?
See, it happens to somebody because they consider the synagogue, if not the place of prayer, the symbol of the community.
On the other hand, the general statistics of the Jewish community of Europe is that 75% of European Jews are trying to hide their Jewishness when they go out the street. They take off the yarmulke, they put a hat over it, or they hide the Magen David they're wearing on their neck. In Italy, in Rome, do you feel the Jews also who beforehand were more open about their Jewishness and were going with the kippah in the streets, are today much more hesitant to do that?
Just last year, I was attacked verbally from someone in the street, and I understood that going with the kippah alone in the street could be something dangerous. So I kept a very sad decision to say to my community, go with a hat, not to be recognized as if you go alone in the street in the night, so because it's not so safe. Today I heard that in a normal home of Jews, the mezuzah of the door was taken off and thrown on the earth. So there are signs of a kind of alarm. So we must be careful, but
Rabbis, after the 7th of October in Europe, many of them received questions from congregants that we want to take off the mezuzah from our doorpost. We wanted to put it inside the apartment. Did you also get such questions from people who...
Just today I received this question.
So Jews are still concerned for their safety. And you tell the Jews that maybe sometimes it is better to hide you being Jewish than to show it in the face of everybody?
Depends what, depends when. They even have to renounce their identity and to proclaim their identity. Of course, if they go to the university, they must know that some universities are not such a safe place. They must be careful about them. But to hide themselves is not a good. It's not a good idea. It's not the moment. And I'm not like this.
When people come to you and ask you about the situation of today's Jewish community, the situation in Israel, and they ask you, what does the Torah say about this? What is the Word of God? What do you have to tell us as a rabbi? What are you telling them?
Well, I can suggest them that the Torah gives keys of understanding of what's happening. This is the first thing that I told them after the 7th of October. You all talk about politics, security, and so on, but what happened on the 7th of October must be understood as a ring. So you have to be awakened. There is an alarm. It is not a physical alarm, it is a spiritual alarm. So you have to come back to Torah, because this is the moment. God's called you.
Rabbi Di Segni, you are really a European, a rabbi who is a doctor, and Italian, Roman. Do people come to you with a question, should we stay in Europe, should we go to Israel? And if people come to you with this question, what would you tell them?
Well, I say that in my community, it's rare that they come with such a specific, they decide by themselves, okay. If theoretically someone will come to ask me, I suggest him that the future of their families is in Israel, is not in the Golan. This is a fact, this is a statistical fact. So the future is there, but not because they are pushing you with anti-Semitism, because the future is there.
The Roman Jewish community, in general, the Italian Jewish community is known as being very traditional. And to quote Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, said that in the past generation, more people ate kosher. In this generation, more people eat glatt, but less people eat kosher. The Jewish community is more polarized. On one side, part of the Jewish community becomes more assimilated, more secular. On the other side, part of the Jewish community becomes more orthodox, more observant. These trends, how do they affect the Italian Jewish community?
They are the same thing that happened. You said people who never ate kosher now they want only glatt kosher, only halal Israel. There are these tendencies. There are also people who escape from Judaism. So you have all the possible trends. And as I told you before, we are special as the Roman Jews, but we are like any other Jews in the Western world.
So there's a lot of influence from the rest of the Jewish world, from the United States, from
Israel.
Other European countries, from Israel, on what is happening today in Italy and Rome. So my next question is, you've been almost a quarter of a century as the Chief Rabbi of Rome. Are you optimistic about the future of the Jewish community in Italy, in Rome, in Europe? Pessimistic? Or so-so? Or is it dependent on what's going to happen during the next few years?
You remember the famous answers of the dean of the Harvard University, depends on the context.
Right.
Well, I see that there are many good signs of coming back to Judaism. So from this point of view, I am optimistic about the strength of the community to stand on the difficulties. What will happen from politics, we don't know. We must be careful, and let's see what happens.
My last question today is the following. The Italian Jewish community throughout the generations has been known as being a very, on one hand, very learned. There were great rabbis all over Italy, northern Italy, southern Italy. There were Padua and Bartanura and other places. Rabbis who were also scientists and doctors. And you also incorporated this in your personal life. How, when you speak to young people today who are living in a secular society, and you teach them Torah, and you teach them the way of our tradition, how do you teach them to incorporate, to live in today's world while holding on to the values of our fathers?
I'll give you an example of a derasha that I give. I don't give all the derasha, but I quoted last week Elon Musk. Why I quoted Elon Musk? Because Elon Musk, in the day after the Trump election, he gained $13 billion just in a day without
doing anything.
Okay, so I explained this is the concept of beracha. The beracha, the real beracha. What is the real beracha? The beracha is when is not taking something from somebody, taking to you, even if it sells to you. Is just multiplying what you have. So this is a way. This is a way of inspiring people with the concept of the tradition, and say that these rules, these concepts, these ideas are actual. They are not in the past world. They are every day, and even Elon Musk can give you some lesson on Torah. Inspirate you, not.
Very nice. Just would like to remind our listeners and viewers that Rabbi Dr. Shmuel Riccardo Di Segni, the Chief Rabbi of Rome, has received from the Conference of European Rabbis a few years ago the prize on the name of the late Chief Rabbi of Rome, Rabbi Toaf, for his life work and his legacy in the Roman and Italian Jewish community. Rabbi Di Segni, thank you so much for being with us. And again, Mazal Tov on your Jubilee.
Thank you so much.